Bonjour everyone, and welcome back to Age of Noob. We're finally getting public announcements on the new variant civilizations, and today we'll take a closer look at the newly announced French variant, Jeanne d'Arc. Do keep in mind that I will use some generic French footage in the background, as I cannot use any footage of Jeanne d'Arc just yet. Okay, with that out of the way, let's dive right in. Let's begin with the Civ Summary. From humble beginnings, Jeanne d'Arc embarks on the journey of a hero. Jeanne embodies hope for the French people, taking to the battlefield and leading the charge by taking on several different roles. Across the ages, Jeanne's options to support her army evolve, offering a number of strategic pathways. Born in 1412, Jeanne d'Arc inspired the French nation to rise against tyranny. In their darkest hour, the French people looked to Jeanne as a symbol of courage and strength as she fought alongside and inspired troops to victory. So how does Jeanne d'Arc differ from the French gameplay-wise? Well, Jeanne d'Arc's presence on the battlefield is far-reaching, featuring abilities that deal damage, heal allies, and inspire villagers and soldiers alike. Progress Jeanne through 4 levels, with each tier offering a new choice that enables Jeanne d'Arc to support her army. In the Dark Age, Jeanne takes the role of a villager who gains experience by constructing buildings and gathering resources. Once level 2 is reached, Jeanne d'Arc must choose her path, equipping a sword or bow to fight with and unlocking several new abilities which can turn the tides of battle. From level 2 and on, Jeanne gains experience by engaging in combat. By late game, Jeanne has completed the journey of a hero and is fielding large armies supported by her powerful abilities and companions. Let's take a closer look at the levels. At level 1, Jeanne has the basic ability of gathering, building, and repairing. From these humble beginnings, Jeanne will pursue the journey of a hero by gaining experience, leveling up, and gaining access to improved combat power and impactful abilities. At level 2, Jeanne can choose to become an archer or a woman-at-arms, gaining an ability based on this choice. Jeanne also gains additional abilities such as Divine Restoration, which heals nearby allies for a percentage of their missing health. At level 3, Jeanne mounts a horse for combat while returning her weapon of choice. She also chooses her companion units for the rest of the game, either Jeanne's riders or Jeanne's champions, and more on those later. The selected companion will be summoned via the Rally Call ability and becomes available to train at keeps. At level 4, Jeanne has completed the journey of the hero. Now, Jeanne wields a heavy cannon based on her weapon of choice. Her Rally Call ability produces additional units, Jeanne's companions are upgraded to elite, and she gains a powerful ultimate ability. As mentioned, let me circle back on the companions. Jeanne's champion is an elite melee unit skilled at countering enemy spearmen. The champion's incredible durability makes them an excellent frontline unit. Jeanne's champion becomes available once Jeanne reaches level 3 and is stronger when in close proximity to Jeanne. Jeanne's rider, on the other hand, is a fast light cavalry unit with exceptional ranged armor. The rider charges into battle at Jeanne's side, ready to run down any crossbows nearby. Jeanne's rider becomes available once Jeanne reaches level 3 and is also stronger when in close proximity to Jeanne. As that was quite a lot of packed information, let me take a step back and revisit a few of those new mechanics. First, as Jeanne starts off as a villager and gets upgraded to a soldier, you need to keep in mind that the quote-unquote additional villager you start with will no longer gather resources. This is not the biggest deal, but villager counts do matter at the highest level, especially in the early game. Second, to reiterate, Jeanne's levels are based on experience. This means that you ideally want to keep Jeanne as busy as possible through every stage of the game to finish your journey of the hero as quickly as possible. Because if you don't, you'll fall behind in experience and subsequently levels, which means that your opponent's upgraded armies will make short work of Jeanne and her troops. In other words, once Jeanne becomes a soldier, playing against her will be a game of cat and mouse in some way, as you want to deny her as much experience as possible to not allow her to get to powerful units and abilities earlier than you can deal with. Third, notice how Jeanne's companions are designed to counter cavalry counter units. This means that if your opponent is going spear heavy, you'll want to go with the champions to keep her alive, and on the other hand, if your opponent is going crossbow heavy, then you'll need to go with the riders. The name of the game is to keep Jeanne as healthy as possible, who will in turn keep your troops as healthy and strong as possible. You simply can't be sloppy with your army control. The burning question for you here should be, well, okay, but what happens if she dies? It's technically not mentioned publicly yet, but I will take a leap of faith and assume that the devs are okay with me to share that the mechanic is similar to that of the Mongol Khan. It does have a twist, but since it's not public yet, I'll shut up for now, and I hope that they don't mind me sharing this extra bit with you folks. Since the whole Civ is centered around her, I think it's obvious enough that she won't be dead forever if she dies once, so I figured I'd share it with you. To continue, you may also wonder how Jeanne summons her companions. It's very straightforward, as it's an ability that summons units out of thin air. In a way, think of her as a moving production building that spawns units occasionally. Based on what you've heard so far, you should realize that, compared to the typical French civ we already have, Jeanne d'Arc is a significantly more difficult civilization to play. It will not only require a very healthy amount of micro, but also the presence of mind to utilize Jeanne to the best of her abilities. In other words, you can't be sloppy playing Jeanne d'Arc, as the civilization will feel quite underwhelming otherwise. If you're a Mongol player, you may think that it's close enough to the way the Khan is played. In a way, it is similar, but significantly more difficult to pilot and more punishing overall. If you thought losing your Khan as the Mongols was a big deal, then you haven't met Jeanne yet. Again, you also can't just play defensively or play super safe to keep her alive, as the experience mechanic forces you to use Jeanne in the front lines as often as possible. So it's a tight dance of using her to the fullest potential, but retreating when necessary to avoid the death of your hero. Finally, a lot of you have also quickly picked up on Jeanne's level 4 and the fact that she yields, quote, a heavy cannon based on her weapon choice. All along, it was Jeanne d'Arc at level 4 in the very first screenshots that the devs shared with us in the beginning. This kinda makes Jeanne a mounted siege unit of sorts, and there's no question that this will likely ruffle some feathers, as it pushes the boundaries of the surrealism the devs utilize for the sake of gameplay. In other words, it will likely be a bit much to swallow for some players who like their gameplay to be a bit more grounded. It also seems like the name won't change and will stay the same for launch. I still stand by my original comment that House of Jeanne d'Arc, Followers of Jeanne d'Arc, Army of Jeanne d'Arc, or anything alike would look and sound much better as a civ name rather than just Jeanne d'Arc. It's not really a hill I'm willing to die on, but again, this is a controversial topic that not all players will agree on. But yeah, I likely already shared more than I should have regarding this new variant civilization. It will definitely be a challenging civ to play and master, and will reward players who enjoy high levels of micro. All that said, I do like the fact that the devs are pushing the boundaries of Civ gameplay mechanics, because this ensures fresh content and new ways to play for us to explore. Although not everyone will admittedly be happy about this aggressive design philosophy, there's no denying that taking this approach ensures that players of all kinds will get to settle on a civilization that they really enjoy to play. I personally suspect that the Order of the Dragon, for example, will be a fan favorite, as it pushes the boundaries for what the HRE could be, which is what Jeanne does for the French. On a final note, we were told that it was safe to share with you folks that you should expect new announcements every week moving forward. We can't tell what will be announced or which day exactly, but we will get new info every week. As usual, I'll try to cover them as soon as I can, and I'm aiming to publish the full review of the civilization before launch, so be sure to subscribe to Age of Noob to not miss out on the full coverage of the Sultan's Ascent DLC. Many thanks to our YouTube members for their continued support, and please consider joining as a member if you'd like to support me further. Thank you. As always, thanks for watching everyone. Let me know what you think of the new Jeanne d'Arc so far, and until next time, au revoir.